Welcome to the Soul Call with Kelly B. I'm Kelly Butchart, soul medicine woman, energy alchemist, intuitive guide and change maker. I'm here to activate soul remembrance, unlock purpose and support the personal and collective evolution into sacred sovereignty. This podcast is a space for heart-led women to rise, to take their power back, to walk in truth and live elevated lives of joy, abundance and deep fulfillment. Through powerful conversations with visionaries, way-showers and spiritual leaders, we weave ancient wisdom, quantum healing and divine insight to awaken something within your soul. This is more than a podcast, it's a movement, a remembering. This is the Soul Call. All of my offerings, social links and ways to connect are in the show notes below each episode. Be sure to check them out, I'd love to meet you there. And please remember to like, subscribe and share. Thank you for being here. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Call with Kelly B. Today I have the absolute privilege of speaking with Jim Ramsdale, whose story is one of extraordinary courage, resilience and renewal. Born in Burnley, Lancashire, Jim has lived through a remarkable and often challenging life journey. Diagnosed with primary progressive MS at just 21, he spent decades navigating the realities of a condition that gradually took away his mobility, yet never his spirit. Through sheer strength, he built a long and successful career in the corporate world, raised 3 children, and later ran a family business with his son. But Jim's life has also been touched by deep loss. He's twice been widowed through cancer, and in 2022 experienced the heartbreak of losing his daughter at the age of 34. By his own words, 2 years ago, he was at the lowest point of his life, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Then something extraordinary happened. A lifelong friend introduced him to PEMF therapy, a powerful energy-based healing technology. What began as a sceptical experiment quickly became life-changing. Within weeks, Jim began sleeping better. Within months, his confidence, energy and zest for life returned. Today, Jim lives in the beautiful Perthshire countryside with his partner Patsy and their black lab, and he has found a brand new sense of purpose. In August 2024, he opened PEMFIT Abernethy, Scotland's only PEMFIT studio, where he now helps others experience the same transformation that restored his own vitality and hope. Jim's story is a profound reminder that healing and purpose can find us at any stage of life. I'm so looking forward to diving into this inspiring conversation and exploring the incredible potential of PEMF therapy and the man whose life it helped transform. Jim, welcome to the show.
Hello.
It's so good to see you again.
Yeah, very good to see you too.
And you.
Looking very well.
Thank you so much. So I've met you already, Jim.
Yes.
I've had the fortune of coming up to your beautiful studio and experiencing PEMFIT for myself.
Yes.
And it was through that I invited you to come onto the show to share more about this amazing soul that you are, the life journey that you've had, and also the extraordinary work that you are now offering in service to others, to help others. So thank you for agreeing to come on, because I know that you're probably thinking, what am I doing in a podcast?
Well, I've never done one before. So a new experience.
And that's what I love. That's what I love, that you're absolutely embracing it.
Yeah.
So Jim, as we've heard, you've had such an incredible life journey, yeah, from the early days in Burnley, a long corporate career to completely changing the direction in your life. I wonder if you could start just by sharing a little bit about your background and what life looked like before PEMFIT entered the picture.
Well, as you've already said, you've sort of indicated what has happened to me over the years, and really the real downside started in 2003 when I lost my first wife, mother of my three children, and managed to survive that and get through it and bring up the kids and all the rest of it. Um, but I found my second wife, who then unfortunately contracted cancer, and she died too. My first wife died of cancer as well, which is like, how's this happening? Um, but managed to get through that, although it was extremely painful. And the worst thing ever then happened to me, which was shortly after my second wife died. My daughter also contracted cancer. Um, and the real tragedy is that she'd just given birth to a baby boy. And it was only after the birth they found she had cervical cancer. Um, so um, yeah, sorry, it's, um, it's quite hard to talk about. Um,
Yeah.
at that point, I had been running. I think you mentioned I worked in the corporate world for 30 odd years, which was fine. But when you hit the magical 50 number, they really want to sort of edge you out of the business. But I have no complaints at all because I was treated very well. Got a good pension and all that sort of thing. So no bad feeling there at all. And just took a year off at that time, trying to decide what to do. And I teamed up again with a friend who I've been to school with, so a long time ago. And he suggested he was starting an internet business. He already had various other businesses. Um, One was focused on bathrooms and what have you, but he wanted to move into the internet at that time. And he said, "Well, do you fancy getting involved and taking over a category?" I said, "Well, what category are you thinking about, sort of thing?" Because this was completely new to me. And he said, "Well, I've just bought three containers of garden furniture and garden tools. Do you want to try and get rid of it?" I said, "Okay, give me a challenge and we'll go for it." So that's how that started. And after about 12 months, my eldest, John, he was finishing university and he had no job to go to at that time. I said, "Well, come and help me." And so he did, and we were together for like 12 years on that business and did very well out of it. Very good. But what killed it off was COVID, of course, which killed off a lot of businesses. But it killed us off by having no source of supply, basically. So all the stock we had went out the door very quickly, and we were left with nothing. So we had to fold the business, um, and that was just at the time that well, it was just after actually that my daughter had died, um, gone through losing two wives, and mentally I was at the lowest point that you could possibly think of, really. So I was in a bad way. But the guy who owned the internet business, um, and who'd been my school friend, and he'd also been through the journey with me with my daughter, uh,
Mhm.
very close friends. And he said, "I've come across something in the US." He traveled a lot, and went to a lot of trade shows and all that sort of thing. And he said, "I've discovered some equipment that I think would do you a lot of good because it's done me good." He said, "It's also done my son good because he had pneumonia, and it also did his dog good, which is the unbelievable.
Amazing.
And because he had quite a large dog, it was a Rhodesian Ridgeback,
Oh, yeah.
but it was getting on in years, and their lifespan is not that brilliant. So he was about 12, but his back legs had gone basically. Anyway, he visited us here and was in a bad way and couldn't really get around the garden and all that sort of stuff. But he said, "You won't believe my dog these days. He's actually skipping around the garden." I said, "No, come." Anyway, he said, "I've got this equipment. You need to have a look at it. It's going to do you good. You got to give it a try." And to be honest with you, Kelly, I was so skeptical, thinking I was feeling low anyway, and that if mentally you're not right, it comes out physically as well, especially if you've got something like MS, which I've had for donkey's years. So I was feeling low, but thought, well, there's nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'll give this a try. So I went to stay with him, stayed overnight, and had a session on the Thursday, a session on the Friday, and I must admit, after I'd had two sessions, I said to him, "That was very relaxing. It's really nice, thank you. I can't say anything negative about it, but I can't really say it's done anything for me." And he said to me, "Well, don't jump to conclusions. Just wait and see what happens, and I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks and see how you're getting on." I said, "Okay." Anyway, so I came back to Scotland. He lived down in the Lake District, Lancashire. And I came back to Scotland, and by the following Wednesday, remember I had the sessions on the Thursday, Friday. By the following Wednesday, I was on to him saying, "I don't know what's going on here. I really don't, but something is." Because last night I slept for over 8 hours for the first time in years, probably 10 years. And it just blew me away. And so
Wow.
I went back to see him and said, "Look, I don't know what's going on, but it's fantastic. I don't understand the technology or anything like that." But I said, "Yeah, I like the look of the results." And he said, "Well, why don't you take this equipment with you, put it in your house in Scotland, and just see how you get on," which was very generous of him. I jumped at the chance. I thought, yeah, right, I'm going to have a go at this. So I did. And that was not last December, but the year before. And by the time I got to February, March time, I'd already decided I'm going to open a studio because this is just phenomenal. The effect it had on me was incredible. First, the sleep, and that's still with me, actually. I'm getting really good night's sleep, which, if I go back 3 years, it was impossible. The second thing that happened to me was an increase in circulation. I don't think we mentioned I'm in a wheelchair and have been for the last 12 years. And being in a wheelchair, especially in Scotland in winter, my legs at night are absolutely freezing. So the only way I could go to sleep really was to put the electric blanket on and leave it on overnight. But anyway, I'd started with the PEMF therapy in December, using it every day. By the time I got to January, I was waking up during the night, throwing the duvets off because I was absolutely roasting. And I couldn't put it down to anything else. Same with the sleep. I couldn't put that down to anything else other than PEMF. So that was the second thing that happened. The third thing, it just seemed a little bit easier transferring out of my wheelchair because I still have to do that to get into bed, go to the toilet, all sorts of things. It just seemed a little bit easier. So I thought, okay, that's good. I'm going to keep going with this. But there was one thing that happened, Kelly, that absolutely convinced me that I've got to do this. And that is 12 years ago, when I first moved to Scotland, I broke my left leg in several places through a very silly accident where I slipped in the bathroom, fell back into a chair because I always put a chair behind me anyway. I was using crutches at the time, but I didn't know where my left leg was, which is a common problem with MS. And I actually sat and crushed my left leg, broke it about 7 places. So I spent about 3 weeks in PRI, um, recovering from that. But what happened there is and they shouldn't have done this, and I only know that now. I didn't know it at the time, but they gave me ketamine to reset my bone. And the problem with ketamine for anybody, and so this is a message to anybody who's thinking of taking ketamine, don't do it because it destroys your bladder. It destroys it. If you've got MS, it's practically immediate. So ever since that stay in hospital, I've had to use catheters. It's the only way I could empty my bladder. Now, that was good in a way, I thought at the time, because with MS, you go to the toilet and 10 minutes later you want to go again. I'm sure a lot of people sort of recognize that. And it was just awful. You've got to plan your day around where the public conveniences are. I mean, it's so debilitating. So that went on for like 8 years. And it was good from that point of view. But the bad news is, and what they don't tell you, or what they didn't tell me anyway, is that using catheters, you're going to get infections all the time. And I was getting infections probably every 6 to 8 weeks. And the problem is, it was like getting a bad dose of flu. And it put me in bed for 3 days. And I think it's because I had the MS and the two were interacting or whatever. But I think it's probably bad for anybody. But it was really awful. And this went on for 8 years. And three times I was hospitalized, and twice I had sepsis. So it nearly killed me. So that was an awful situation. But ever since I did the first 2 sessions of PEMFIT, I didn't get another infection until the following June, which is like manna from heaven for me. I mean, that was gold dust. And when I did get the infection in the June, I was up and about after 24 hours rather than 3 days or 4 days of what it used to cause. So after that, I was thinking, how can this be? And I couldn't put it down again. There's too many, there's too many good things happening to me that I couldn't put down to anything else really. Because the only thing I was doing differently was using this PEMF equipment. Anyway, touch wood, and I better do that now. Since that June, which is a year last June, I haven't had an infection since.
Amazing.
Well, absolute gold dust to me, gold dust.
Yeah.
So that, even before I got to the June, I said, I've gone 6 months now without an infection. I can only put it down to using PEMFIT. So I thought, I've got to do this, and I've got to get this out there to other people with the same conditions. So from making the decision in sort of January, February time to open a studio, it took us about 6 months to actually get there in the end. So we didn't open until August 24. But since then, I've had about 130, 140 people come through the studio. And I would say probably 60% of the people have found benefit, real benefit. It doesn't seem to work for everybody, but I reckon 60% out of 140 is not a bad result. And I would say out of those 140, I've probably got between 20 and 30 regulars who come back every week. Yeah.
Amazing. Jim, I just want to thank you, first of all, for being so open and sharing such a profound story, because your life journey has been like no other that I've heard, and I know that we touched on some difficult and emotional stuff there, and I really, really appreciate you sharing that. And I can't imagine what that's been like for you. And I know that everybody watching and listening their heart will be going out to you as well. And I really want to acknowledge that when I came to visit you, you've just set up the most beautiful studio. It's full of just beautiful energy as well. And I've never quite met anybody that's had a journey like yours that's just so resilient and so positive and so wanting to serve others. And for me, I just think, oh my goodness, I have to invite you on because you're doing your quiet thing away tucked up in this beautiful studio in the most beautiful part of Perthshire. And I really wanted more people to hear about the work that you do. So thank you for sharing that because it's showing how significantly this therapy has changed your life.
Absolutely. I mean, it's completely changed it
Yeah,
for the good, for the good.
yeah, absolutely. And, I work with energy medicine. So, I'm a tutor in silent counselling. I'm now an advanced theta healing practitioner. I've trained in various different quantum healing technologies. And so everything is energy for me. And, what you bring is not just the physical bed, but it's also the way that you cater to people as well. You really took such care of me on that initial consultation. Even the first phone call that I had with you, you really, really take time with people. And that's one of the things that really struck me. It's like a full consultation when we come,
Yeah.
and you're really interested in, like, let's look at all of the symptoms, some of your own life's journey. I can't promise that this is going to help everything, but you will notice something. And for me, I definitely noticed after the first few sessions, like you'll know this, as I shared with you, was the sleep, the difference to my sleep.
Yeah.
It's interesting that that was the first thing that you noticed when your wonderful friend introduced you to this
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah.
And that alone,
And to be honest, Kelly, I was so skeptical before I started. Yeah.
yeah,
I thought, nah, this is a bit woo-woo. It's not going to work, and all the rest of it. I was
yeah,
just floored, absolutely floored.
yeah. So you'd be floored emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I know that you've shared that here and shared that with me, that you were not in a great place. And then, this beautiful friend of yours says, you must try it. You must try it. And even seeing the evidence of his dog,
Yeah.
living a much happier life again, no
Well,
longer.
we came to visit later on, and this dog was still, because we had a young puppy who was probably only 12 months at the time, a Labrador, and it was all over the place. And this dog was chasing around the garden with it, which was, that's another thing that sort of said,
Yeah,
well, this is fantastic.
yeah, yeah. And this is,
Not to be seen, to be believed.
yeah, absolutely. And just even, feeling into the amount that you have experienced emotionally, that takes a hit on your body. And especially when you were already living with MS at an
But I
advanced
have plenty of
stage.
time to get used to it.
And you've not lost your sense of humour either, which is amazing. This is the stoical nature of Jim Ramsdale, just getting on with so much in life. But I really want to honour not just the journey that you've been on, but it's how you wish to serve others, how you, at this point of your life, you could have just wrapped things up and said, I'm going away off to enjoy my retirement now. Thanks very much. I've had a challenging life. I'm just going to like do my wee bit quietly in Perthshire. But that's not the decision that you made. You were so awestruck in how this therapy has changed your life. The evidence was there for you to see yourself and to experience. And I just really want to honour that, that here you are now, the only studio in Scotland, you know, thinking at this point in my life, no, there's more I can do to help others. So it's so amazing to hear that there's been, over 100 people come in and experience this for themselves, including myself.
Yeah. When I started the studio, I was struggling to get people in to be
Yeah.
honest, because
Yeah.
most people think, what's all this about? I don't understand it, and it's a new thing. I've never, if it's so good, why haven't I heard of it and all this sort of.
Yeah.
So I had to start by giving free sessions to anybody I knew, really,
Yeah.
to get them in and try it, because it's something that you've got to try to
Mhm.
believe it, really.
Yeah.
I could talk about it all day, but people are going to think, you know, what's that? But so that's how I started. So it's all been word of mouth, really.
Yeah. And am I right in thinking that athletes and some celebrities, there are some quarters of people that know about this therapy,
Yeah.
yet it's
Like
just
the
not
world's
been,
best kept secret.
yeah, it's just not been available sort of mainstream, if you like. And this is again why I thought this is so remarkable, and your story in itself is so amazing that, coming to share this so that people know that you are available in Scotland, people can find you. Your son also has a studio in London, I believe, as well.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, the profile of clients, there is a difference between myself here in Scotland and his clients. He tends to get more sports people,
Uh-huh.
people who are looking for that extra percentage.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people who come to see me are feeling pretty bad about,
Yeah.
either physically or mentally. But
Yeah.
what's the wonderful thing about this, and it did it for me, it seems to affect you mentally as well. It
Yeah.
really gives you a positive
Yeah.
outlook on
Yeah.
life. Well, it certainly did for me. Because at the time I was at the lowest of the low, as it were, I was struggling to get out of bed. Never
Yeah.
mind start a new business,
Yeah.
open a studio and get into all of this and do the research on it and all the rest of it. I mean, 3 years ago, no. Wouldn't have
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
So
So let's,
it's been an incredible change.
yeah. Yeah.
But
So,
what we really, sorry to interrupt, what I really wanted to do when I opened the studio at first was get this out to the MS community. Um, but because I'd spent a long time all through my life going to MS centres and what have you, and
mhm.
knowing that, I've been lucky compared to a lot of people with MS. Some people with MS go downhill very quickly. There's various types of MS. I've got the one which just gets a little bit worse each year, but it's not dramatic, and you've got time to adjust to it, basically. But some people get MS, and it's absolutely devastating because it's happening within weeks and
Yeah.
months rather than years, in my case. So the first sort of incentive for me was to get the word out to the MS community, which I'm struggling with, to be honest. And I think one of the problems is people with critical conditions, chronic conditions, shall we say, I think they're always worried that it could make it worse.
Hmm. Hmm.
But from all the research that I've done, I have not come across any negatives of that sort at all. Uh,
Amazing.
but
So let's just explain a little bit more about what the technology is and
yes,
a little bit how it works, because it's all about deep cellular regeneration, isn't it? To accelerate the cell
It,
renewal.
it makes your cells work better, so
Hmm.
more efficiently, and plus it encourages this regeneration, which
Yeah.
is key, I think.
So what does PEMF stand for, Jim?
It stands for pulsed electromagnetic fields.
Hmm. Hmm.
So what happens is we have a nice relaxing bed in our studio, which you lie on. You've done it yourself.
Very comfortable.
Very relaxing. Next to it, we've got a box which generates an electromagnetic pulse. Now, we're all getting an electromagnetic pulse from the Earth
Hmm.
naturally.
Hmm.
That emits a frequency of 7.8 per second.
Hmm.
Um, and how this all came about, I don't know all the details because I wasn't involved at the time, but obviously, but about 20 years ago, NASA actually commissioned the company that makes the equipment that we have to find a way of replicating the Earth's electromagnetic pulse. Because what they were finding Um, and it's interesting that this type of equipment is also available in Russia, which also had their own space program. What they were finding is that when people were outside of the Earth's natural electromagnetic pulse, they were getting sick.
Hmm.
They were both physically and mentally. They were getting skin problems. They were getting bone deterioration. They were coming back depressed. I mean, severely depressed.
Hmm.
So they needed something that was going to counter that. If people were going to stay outside of that natural pulse for a long period of time. So they developed this equipment, and I think NASA invested a lot of money in that. Um, and what we've got today is sort of the commercial result of all that research. Um, and yeah, I've no intention of being an astronaut, but as far as I'm concerned, it works. It,
Yeah. Yeah. So we know that the Earth's natural, what I call the heartbeat of Mother Earth,
yeah,
is the Schumann resonance. And 7.8 hertz is what's most harmonious and natural for the human condition. And, having experienced a few sessions myself, it's the most relaxing thing. Jim has a beautiful conversation with you, gets you up on the bed, and you just lie there fully clothed on the bed. And you also have a pad that in my last session, I had the pad on top of me as
yes,
well.
yes.
And does that just help sort of the intensity of the?
Yes. Yeah, what happens then is we keep the bed going, but we can use various accessories. Um, and so 50% of the energy coming from the electromagnetic pulse, 50% of that is coming through the bed.
Hmm.
And that really only penetrates to about 18 inches, something like that, maybe
Hmm.
even a little less. But when you're laid out on the bed, it's
Hmm.
actually getting to every cell in your body from your
Yeah,
top of your head to your toes,
yeah,
including all your organs, all your bones, the skin, everything.
yeah. So we are electromagnetic beings first and foremost, and to keep optimum cellular regeneration because our bodies aren't the same as what they were a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Our cells are renewing and regenerating all the time. And sometimes there can be cellular degeneration as well. And so lying on this bed, what we're doing is we're getting pulsed with these um, natural currents.
Yes. And
And
what,
it's
what
a,
and what then is happening is it's slightly increasing. It's only fraction because cells are minute anyway, but
yeah,
it's slightly increasing the electrical charge in your cells.
yeah, yeah,
We're like batteries. So when the charge is low, that's when we get sick. That's when we feel ill. When the
yeah.
charge is high, that's when we feel great and
Yeah,
want to do things.
yeah,
That
absolutely. Giving
that's
that
basically how
vitality
it's
back. Yeah. So being pulsed very gently, because I go to sleep. I've gone to sleep with each session. And
Oh,
you
it's
just
very
go
gentle.
out
Yeah.
and you just leave me. And, I'm lying there, I guess, for about 40 minutes or so.
Mhm.
And I go to sleep. It's so relaxing, so, so relaxing. You just feel the gentle pulsing coming through your body. It's so wonderful and soothing, actually. It's really soothing. And I have to say, I'm going to return for more sessions for sure. The sleep benefit alone, as we referred to earlier, our body really needs deep sleep so that we can repair and the body can heal naturally during sleep. So anybody that's suffering from, any kind of sleep deprivation,
They're not going to be well.
insomnia or
They're not going to be well.
no. And you talked about your bladder, and I, as a menopausal woman, I had the hysterectomy several years ago. I would be up to the toilet numerous times through the night, and that has all stopped. I mean, that for me is life changing. It's amazing. I'll maybe go once, twice at the very most, as opposed to like 6 or 7 times through the night. So I'm now continuing to experience much better sleep quality. It's the quality of the sleep that's really, really improved for me. So I'm really intrigued to find out, when I return, what any longer term benefits are going to be. So I would love to hear just a little bit more about what, because you've spoken about your mission was initially to help those who are also living with MS. So hopefully, like podcasts like this and getting you onto other podcasts and getting the word, out there will help people know about, this is available.
Yeah.
It would be great if, doctors could know about this and could maybe refer people, and obviously maybe they wouldn't access it through the NHS, but it's about spreading the word as well, because this is a private clinic that you have.
Yeah.
But if we don't know about it,
But it's
then
not,
people
it's not
can't
that
access it.
we don't diagnose.
No,
Uh,
no,
you know, it's not a clinic really. It's we're providing a service
yeah,
which energizes cells, and
yeah,
if that, so what it's doing, it's encouraging your body to heal itself.
yeah,
That's what it comes down to.
yeah,
But we're
yeah,
not doing the healing. Your body's
yeah,
doing that.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for making that really clear, because I, I should have called it a clinic, but you've explained that so beautifully there. So, yeah, just to get more word out there, to let more people know that you're available, where can people find you, either online or in person, Jim, if they're wanting to experience this for themselves?
Well, they could find us on the internet, and it's very simple. It's pemfit.co.uk.
Hmm.
And on there, they will see all the studios in the UK. There's 7 in total.
Okay.
We're the only one in Scotland, but there's one in London, as we've mentioned. There's one in Manchester, one in most of the others around the northwest, to be
Yeah,
honest. So
yeah.
Harrogate, Southport, Lancaster. So it is available more down south, but at least we've got one in Scotland now.
Absolutely brilliant. Thanks to you. So it's in Perthshire in a beautiful little village called just outside Abernethy.
Abernethy, yes. And a lot of people locally will know Jamesfield Organic Farm Shop.
Hmm.
And we're actually on the first floor above the shop.
Brilliant. So
And
it's
there's a lift,
accessible for everybody too, because there's a lift, isn't there?
there's a lift, so
Yeah,
anybody is capable of getting onto the
yeah,
first floor, including
yeah,
me.
yeah,
It's funny, if there hadn't been a lift, I couldn't go there anyway.
yeah.
And I did spend quite a bit of time trying to find office space when we first
Mm-hmm.
decided to open a studio, and that didn't come across anything really. But it was like as if it was meant to be.
Yeah,
Was having a conversation with my partner in the local pub,
yeah.
basically, and the waitress overheard our conversation and said, "Oh, you're looking for rental?" And I said, "Well, yes." He said, "Oh, well, I work at Jamesfield, and I do know that they rent out office space." I said, "Right, I'll be down there straight away to have a look." Got down there, realized straight away it was on the first floor. I thought, yeah, this is great because there's a car park, there's a garden centre, there's a coffee shop, there's a restaurant, but it's on the first floor. Anyway, went in there and they had a lift, which was
Amazing.
because there's not many places with lifts.
Yeah, yeah. It's been meant to be. It's been
Yeah.
meant to be.
Well,
I think,
that's what it came across as.
yeah. I would love, 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 just before we finish, what kind of stories, if you think about the clients that have come into your studio, what are some of the stories that have stuck with you? What are some of the other improvements that you've seen in people?
I'm glad you've asked me that because I've been, reviewing all the people that have been through the studio since we started, really, and trying to look for patterns and who's getting the most benefit and all the rest of it. And I would say top of the list is people who are suffering from fibromyalgia.
Wow.
And we've had some fantastic results with it. The problem with those sort of conditions like fibromyalgia and maybe long COVID and CFS and all these things, then I get the impression they're not getting too much back from their GP in that
Mhm.
they're getting painkillers, they're even being given antidepressants and this sort of stuff, which is not the answer really, because that's just covering the root cause up. Um, what has happened with I would say 5 or 6 clients that I've had terrific results, even only after a couple of sessions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you combine that with improved sleep
Mm-hmm.
and the other good things it's doing to your body.
Yeah.
It's just I'm still blown away by it. I mean,
Yeah.
I have no medical training at all,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
all. I came into this it's getting on for nearly 2 years ago now, and without any training at all on the medical front. All I know about is myself and what it's done for me and the people that have been close to me. And some of the results are just staggering. But since last August, since we've been open, as I said, I went into this thinking help the MS community, but there's so many more people out there that it can help. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Absolutely. Oh, it's been so wonderful to have you on, Jim. Your story is so inspiring. And for anyone listening who may be struggling with their own health or feeling stuck in life, I would love for you just to share a message with them. If you could leave them with a message, what would it be?
If you're suffering from fibromyalgia, CFS, long COVID, definitely get in touch with us as soon as you can, because I can't guarantee anything. But just looking at the profiles of the people that have already been to see me, there's a good chance we could help.
Amazing, amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story. It's great, great, great for us to do a little bit just to help you with the podcast, just so that people are aware of where you are and that there's also other studios across the country as well to go and try PEMFIT for any condition, really. There's nothing that it can't
Well,
support.
the thing is, it affects your whole body.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah.
nothing that it might not help. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for coming on today, Jim. It's been great to
Thank
connect
you
with you
for
again.
inviting me.
You're so welcome. And thank you to everybody for tuning in and watching and listening today. I hope that you've learned something about PEM therapy, and I would highly recommend that people check you out, Jim. Okay,
Thank you.
everyone, big love. Thank you for tuning in. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Soul Call with Kelly B today. If this episode spoke to your heart, I'd be so grateful if you'd take a moment to like, subscribe, or share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your support truly means the world, and it helps this message ripple even further. And if you're feeling called to explore more of my work, my latest offerings, sessions, and ways to connect are all in the show notes below. I would love to hear from you. Until next time, keep listening to your beautiful soul. With so much love, Kelly.